Reggae is an energy, a vibe, a frequency. All you have to do is tune in. It provides the culture, the spirit, the music you live by, love with, cry because of, laugh at, and sing along with. It specializes in reality, you know, one real live someone reaching out to another real live someone. Peace, love, unity, consciousness, a kind of oneness. The sounds of our existence, the cadence of our lives, the melodies of our hearts, all represented, enveloped, molded, and embodied in a myriad of musical expressions. Reggae touches every facet of our lives, giving us hope in moments of despair, ecstasy in moments of passion, victory in the struggle, and courage in conflict. In reggae music, there are just those special voices, those incredible songs, those amazing musicians who undeniably, those very same undeniably charismatic entertainers who reach into our souls and make us sit up and take notice. Someone will fall under the spell of a blue beat. Another will tap their foot to a ska melody. Someone else will be mouthing the words to a familiar rock steady tune, and yet another will zone into a dub piece. That's the magic of reggae. It knows no boundaries. In fact, it erases them. So, as a beneficiary of reggae's past, a participant in the present, and crucially, a custodian of the future, I remain entirely indebted to those who have shared their sometimes harrowing experiences with me and moved by the sincerity of those heroes and sheroes in the community who have tried so hard in the past and now wish good fortune attends our efforts. That this program this evening, or the entire Reggae Month, should trigger a better understanding and a commitment to put in additional resources among its audience will be the greatest reward. So what is reggae, Hugh? For me, reggae is a way of life. AWOL. Reggae is about more than pounds. First, it informs, it entertains, it educates, challenges, interprets, and is a central part of the cultural and political expression of people in the world about them. In its global context, reggae maintains an important social, cultural, and political significance to the Black community and directly nurtures the popular sounds which have brought such significant rewards to the wider community. Again, Usain Bolt is reggae. Oliver Samuels is reggae. Shirley Ann Fraser is reggae. This is reggae. No one quite agrees on the origin of the word reggae. Some say that it comes from the old Jamaican dancing style known as reggae, while others attribute it to the 1968 recording by the great Toots and the Maytals called Do the Reggae. A country of fewer than 3 million people, Jamaica has had remarkable success originating influential musical forms such as ska, rocksteady, reggae, dub, dancehall. Musicologists say production, innovation, and the discovery of toasting, a kind of reggae DJ chatting over a beat, directly inspired hip hop. Out of many, oneness. A cross-pollinization of African, Caribbean folk music and American R&B, reggae was first introduced to Europe by Jamaican migrants settling in Britain in the late 1960s. Its popularity exploded in the 1970s with the rise of Bob Marley and Jamaican Rasta stars, whose music influenced British groups like The Clash, The Police, UB40, Madness, The Beat, and countless others, who Jamaican music later also shaped, as I said earlier, hip hop and rap. In terms of the Rastafarian movement, beginning in the mid-1960s, the influence of the Rastafarian religion came to play a very important role in the lyrics and themes of Jamaican music. And this shift is crucial to the distinction between reggae and earlier forms of Jamaican music. Rastafarianism was a new religious movement that began in Jamaica in the 1930s. It stresses a time of impending change in which the wicked forces of European colonialism will be overthrown and the poor, oppressed children of Africa will be redeemed. Reggae means business, as you said earlier, Rudy. It represents an industry capable of bringing benefit to the country at large, providing gainful occupation to thousands of youths and enabling a large sector of the community the opportunity to contribute directly towards the economic regeneration of the global economy. The reggae music industry has the capacity to transform the fortunes of numerous Blacks, make a major impact on the world music scene, and enrich the whole community in so doing. So please allow me a bit of creative license here to tell my story of reggae in the words that provide a comfortable format for me. Who, what, when, where, how, and why. Let's get serious now and tune into a little jam rock in a little place in West Kingston. And the word reggae, let's understand it like this. Reggae is the generic term that is used to describe a variety of Jamaican popular music styles and subgenres, which developed around the West Kingston district of Trenchtown. You've heard Bob talk about it, Trenchtown rock. So that's where it started, pioneered by the great Clement Coxsone Dodd at Studio One. Those who are not familiar with Studio One, go look it up. You'll be amazed. These styles and subgenres include, number one, blue beat. That's about 1960 to 62. Number two, ska, 62 to 66, exemplified by groups such as the Scatterlights, Prince Buster, Derek Morgan, Jimmy Cliff, the Maytals, the Wailing Wailers, of course, Bob, Peter, and Bunny, etc. Then came rock steady in the 1966, exemplified by acts such as the Soul Vendors, Alton Ellis, Ken Booth, the Heptones, Delroy Wilson, etc. Listen to those catalog of names that I'm reeling out here for you. We really are touching into some catalog straight out of West Kingston in Trenchtown. So people, rock with me. Then we have what we're talking about now, reggae. So reggae didn't come about in terms of its name or its generic form until after blue beat, ska, rock steady. Then came reggae in 1968 to 69. After that, then we had what is known as commercial reggae. So it was popularized by the music of people like Jimmy Cliff, roots rock reggae, Bob Marley and the Wailers, Third World, Peter Tosh, Royal Rasses, Inner Circle, Aswad, and Steel Pulse. Then after that, and we're up to number 6 now, then came in 1971, what is known as dub. So we have dub reggae, developed and popularized by the mighty King Tubbies, Lee Scratch Perry, and of course our very own man here, the Mad Professor. Then after that, we had toasting. So we are number 7, toasting now, DJ in reggae in about 1970 to 71, epitomized and popularized by the mighty King Stitt, U-Roy, Dennis Al Capone, I-Roy, and the massive Big U. Are you with me so far, Ruby? You following me?
Yeah.
And then let's kick in now into number 8 on my chart. That's the development going through all the subgenres of what is reggae. We had a thing called rockers. And of course, that came in about 1975, typified by the drumming style of the massive slide dumbbell. Rockers.
Double drumming.
For real, Sly probably the greatest drummer on the planet. And so other reggae subgenres that have developed since the 1970s, including now things like steppers, slang tang, dancehall, raga. And a lot of people have heard the word raga, but did you know that it came from a word called ragamuffin?
Yes.
And of course, in the UK, you had off spills of reggae going into jungle, drum and bass, garage, and of course, right up to date with grime. And I mentioned earlier, in the US, rap and hip hop too. So you can see, I think it's worth me just reminding you what reggae is, because that is the subject of what we're discussing tonight. And so to define it, reggae is the generic term that is used to describe a variety of Jamaican popular music styles and subgenres which developed around the West Kingston district of Trenchtown, pioneered by the massive Clement Cox and Dodd at Studio One. And I told you about those people who exemplified it with Blue Beat and ska, people like the Scatterlikes, Prince Buster, Derek Morgan, Jimmy Cliff, the Maytals, the Wailing Wailers, Peter, Bob, Bonnie. And so you've got a feel now of how it all came about. So reggae is a generic term used. It's not just about the music. It's an attitude, it's a style, it's a way of life. And that's why I said earlier, Usain Bolt is reggae, Oliver Samuels is reggae. And all of these great people, that is what reggae is about. So let's kind of touch now. That's the home of reggae, right there coming out of Kingston. Let's look at it now from the reggae music in Britain.
Yes.
Over the past 70 years, Jamaican popular music has been at the forefront of Black British popular culture. I say that without fear of contradiction. Challenge me if you dare. As an art form and as a form of cultural expression, reggae has provided African Caribbeans with a vital link to their cultural roots and has offered young Black people suffering from alienation a positive sense of identity. And it's not just about the music. Music is just one aspect of it. And when we move from that fact, let's look at the people who were involved. Let's look at the great Chris Blackwell. Chris Blackwell is a white Jamaican and founder of Island Records. Chris Blackwell worked his way into being a multimillionaire by bringing records to the UK, which he had sold from his Mini Cooper in those days. Those who were not familiar with Minis, Mini Cooper was a fabulous piece of machine. On establishing Island Records, he invited the Jamaican jazz guitarist, a legend called Ernest Ranglin, to Britain in 1963. While working as musical director for Island Records, Ernest Ranglin produced a track that was probably the first big hit in reggae by the great Millie Small, My Boy Lollipop, which became a massive hit for Millie in 1964. Other people like Georgie Fame and the Blue Flames and Midgie 5 were among the first indigenous British artists to have ska style hits. And now we come to one of the greatest Black-owned business in Europe, not just in the UK, but in Europe. It was the greatest music company. And it was set up by three Jamaican brothers, Carl, Jeff, and Harry, the Palmer brothers. That company is Jetstar Phonographics. Jetstar Phonographics was Britain's largest Black-owned distribution company. Carl Palmer was CEO of Jetstar and has been in the business since the 1960s. He had come a long way since his involvement as director of Palmer Records in Harlesden.
Yes.
Jetstar was the flagship and first name in UK reggae music.
Yes.
The company had, and I say this again without fear of contradiction, the company had single-handedly kept the hopes and aspirations of both artists and producers alive through acting as the ultimate outlet for their products worldwide. Jetstar over the years had directly and indirectly created employment for thousands of individuals. The company was a model of Black British business achievements and what can be achieved through hard work, commitment, dedication, and tenacity. Let's look at ska now. Ska found popularity among British youth culture and was adopted firstly by the Mods. If those young people who are listening to me may not be familiar with the Mods, but if you go look it up, and later by another group called the Skinheads. The Scatolites, Prince Buster and Millie, were the most popular artists and all scored national chart hits. Although UK-based artists such as Clancy Collins and Laurel Akins tried their hands at producing ska in Britain, their attempts paled by comparison to their Jamaican-based counterparts. And we can understand that. It started in Trenchtown. It is now an intellectual property which the Jamaican government owns for the people of Jamaica. And so just like champagne coming out of France, everybody must now know that reggae comes out of Jamaica. We have just been influenced by it, and so we take it as our own, but it really belongs to Jamaica. And Jamaican government needs to see it as a really valuable intellectual property, and they should capitalize from it. Those people who create it, who handle it, who sells it, they should benefit from this. So I hope that the government of Jamaica, they're watching me tonight, and they'll understand exactly what I'm saying. I know that Ibu, former keyboard player from Third World, is doing a fantastic job down there because he has set up an organization that is looking after intellectual property, publishing, and making sure that songwriters get their credits and their royalties. And I'm really glad to hear that that is still going, and I wish them well. And anything that I can do to help in that area, please just let me know. And once COVID is over, I'll be on the next flight down there. Now we move into Rocksteady. You're familiar with the Rocksteady because I told you earlier. Now the Rocksteady era of Jamaican popular music ushered in more kind of euphoric, rhythmically, and elegant sound. Rocksteady still remains the most popular of all the musical genres to have emerged from Jamaica. Rocksteady is still often mistaken for and confused with reggae proper, i.e. the sound that developed between 1968 and 69, typified by Larry and Alvin's Nanny Goat, and No More Heartaches by the Belltones, something like no more heartaches, no more pain. Check these out, people, and get right back to the base of where it all started, and you'll get an understanding of what I'm saying. Maybe after you've done your research, you'll come back to what I've just said, and you'll recognize the things that I'm saying to you now. You may not get it all at first, but don't worry, something will touch you, a trigger, a pulse, and you'll go do your own research. Then after that, what we had was a guy who came in from the US, and he was a great friend of Bob Marley. In fact, he recorded a number of Bob Marley's songs, and that's a guy called Johnny Nash, a kind of soft soul, rock steady reggae. By the time this leading US superstar ballad singer, Johnny Nash, got around to making international hits of titles such as Hold Me Tight, and another one, You Got Soul, and another one which was done by Sam Cooke, Cupid, Groovin', and of course the Bob Marley classic, Steer It Up. Various genres of Jamaican popular music have become so interspersed, everything musical to come out of Jamaica was taken as reggae in Britain. So again, as I said, the kind of one word to describe everything was reggae. And I hope you're following me when I describe reggae as a way of life, and all the genres and subgenres that came out, they all grouped together now on the reggae. And so after that, we have the great, the mighty Jimmy Cliff. Arguably, Jimmy was Jamaica's first superstar. Whilst he did not receive the kind of massive marketing lavished upon Bob Marley and the Wailers, he was most certainly the first Jamaican artist to receive international acclaim, owing largely to his hits, including Wonderful World, Beautiful People, Vietnam, Wild World, and his phenomenally successful full-length movie, The Harder They Come, The Harder They Fall. Jimmy Cliff can also be credited with discovering Bob Marley, as it was. He was first introduced, he first introduced Bob Marley to the legendary Cox and Dodd at Studio One. Remember I told you about Cox and Dodd earlier from Trenchtown? And of course, you said in your intro, Rudy, about reggae means business. It does indeed. It really is not just about the music. And I know in music we use notes, but it's also about another set of notes, pound notes, dollar notes, yang notes, Bitcoin notes. People from various communities have been empowered and benefited through creation of businesses in the reggae industry that offer employment and an improved quality of life.
Yeah.
A case in point is Chris Blackwell, who developed Island Records into the most successful independently owned company in the pop rock music industry, which rivaled Tamla Motown in the 60s and 70s. And if you know anyone who knows anything about Tamla Motown, you'll know that Barry Gordy was behind that. And of course, you wouldn't have had groups like the Temptations, Diana Ross and the Supremes, the Four Tops, all of those. Barry created a fantastic structure there, similar to what Jetstar was creating here. And of course, Chris Blackwell equaled that. Then in terms of reggae again, and I think Chris was linked to this, from the late 1960s to 76, there is the powerful Trojan Records.
Yes.
Enjoyed an unprecedented degree of success in British music, producing over 30 hit singles in the national charts. Trojan was the nickname of the legendary Jamaican soundman producer Duke Reid.
Yes.
The label was originally set up to release the Duke's recordings in Britain, but eventually went on to release the recordings of the majority of Jamaicans, popular producers and artists. And here is where Chris Blackwell was linked into that. Chris Blackwell and Lee Goptal were the directors of Trojan Records. Hits include Desmond Decker's 007, Montego Bay by Freddie Notes and the Rudies, Jimmy Cliff's Wonderful World, Beautiful People, Long Shot Kick the Bucket by the Pioneers, and Young, Gifted and Black were among the top 20 hits produced during the Trojan years. So big up yourself, Trojan. You've done a fantastic job. Now the young people of Britain need to learn from that, tap into it, and take it to the next level. We should be standing on your shoulders. You've laid a great foundation. And of course, the UK then had a kind of new wave. And so we created our own versions of Jamaican musicians. And at the top of that chart for me, Rudy, these are some guys that you should be familiar with. These guys came out of Harlesden in Northwest London. They called the Simmerings.
Absolutely, yeah.
And the Simmerings, people who didn't know this, was the first UK roots reggae band and was the first to score a #1 hit in Jamaica with a cover of Bob Marley's track called Talking Blues.
Yes, sir.
Anybody talk to Gishi, talk to Winston Reedy and tell them to play that song for you. These guys left the UK, went back to Jamaica, having recorded Talking Blues, and released it in Jamaica. They were brave. Yeah. They released it, and Jamaica embraced it. Yeah. They took it to #1. So Simmerings, big up yourself. And Jamaica, respect to you too. Other popular UK acts of the 1970s and 80s included acts like, I'm going to touch into some catalog now, Rudy. Bands like Matumbi.
Yes.
The Bandits. Yes. The Bandits. Merger.
Yeah.
Aswa.
Yeah.
Steel Pulse.
Yeah.
Delroy Washington. Tradition. Capital Letters. 90 Degrees. Black Slate. Reggae Regulars. Investigators. Honey Boy. Junior English. Blackstone. Brown Sugar. 15, 16, and 17. Ginger Williams. Express. REGCO. Undivided. Rough Cut. Rassites. Red Cloud. Mafia and Fluxy. Black Harmony. Danny Ray. King Sounds. Gene Adibamba. Carol Thompson. Administrator. The Great Janet Kay. And many others. Some people only include some of them. So anyone that I've left out, please don't take this personal. Rudy and I just don't have enough time tonight to touch down into that massive reservoir of talent. And so in terms of London, where we are, Rudy, I think it's important to recognize that tracing the history of reggae music in Britain, for example, demonstrate that many established musicians, producers, and promoters have been based in or educated in the area where Jetstar was, the area of Brent.
That's right.
Brent plays a major role, and of course, Hackney and Haringey. This implies equally to R&B and soul and calypso, so black music as a whole. Likewise, important world-famous record companies such as Island, which I mentioned earlier, Trojan and Palmer, predecessor of Jetstar Phonographics, Eddie Grant's Ice, Brit Music Group, all developed in Haringey, Hackney, and Brent. So those three local authorities, big up yourselves. And I'm sure that over in West London, we would have had some too. So East, West, North, and South London, we've all done a great job to bring about, because I know over in Brixton, Red Cloud was firing hot over there. And so, Rudy, that is in essence the history of reggae according to HUGH FRANCIS.
Yes.
And I guarantee that anyone can research the things I've said tonight, and I think you'll see and find that it sits well. But here is where we are. The question now for me is, where do we go from here with reggae?
The future.
How do we build on what those great people have done? How do we take it to the next level? Because reggae has so much more that it has to offer to the world. There aren't many places in the world on planet Earth, this third rock from the sun, which is floating in space, most of which is water. There aren't many places that reggae hasn't made an impact. And any group of people who feels suppressed or oppressed, they will always gravitate towards reggae, because reggae has a message of get up, stand up for your rights and fight back. And so we now have to look at a way forward. We've got technology, and we've got what is commonly being developed now as AI, which is artificial intelligence.
Yes.
So you can't look at the future as a kind of continuation of the past, of the things I just described, because the future is going to be different. And we really have to now unlearn the way we dealt with things in the past in order to deal with the future. We have to stop trying to figure out what to do by looking at what we have done. If you think you're good, you're dead. Success in the past has no implication for success in the future.
Absolutely.
The formulas for success, yesterday's success, are almost guaranteed to be formulas for failures tomorrow. My message could not be more explicit. The road stops here.
Yeah.
There is no road ahead. Roads are linear, and linear thinking is useless in a non-linear world. The linear thing, you can have the M1 motorway from London to Leeds, and that's linear. But life, the world, isn't quite one straight line.
Yeah, never.
So instead, we have to make an intellectual leap from the linear to the non-linear, from the known to the unknown, from terra firma to terra incognita. Reggae companies are going to have to unlearn a lot of their past, and also to forget it. The future will not be an exploration of the past, like a spaceship on its way to the moon. A company has to be willing to jettison the parts of its past which no longer contains fuel for the journey.
Yes.
And which are becoming, in effect, excess baggage. So in looking to the future of reggae in the 21st century, and I think this year, Reggae Month has to see itself as the beginning of the 21st century.
Yes.
And we have got to have 21st century leadership, 21st century thinking. We have got to look at what we have and say, what do we have here? Now, what would happen if I turn it on its head?
Upside down. Absolutely.
What would happen? Can we look at that? What if we were to add that little bit, take away that bit? What if we were to stand as if we were in Australia and look at it from another angle? That's what we're going to have to do. Intellectual property is going to play a major role. Intellectual capital is going to be playing a major role. So I want to drive home to you tonight. Yes, we've done well. Thanks to Jamaica and the people of Trenchtown, who has created an amazing thing that's so phenomenal, it's gone right across the globe. I'm saying to you now that we have got to take the intellectual leap and move into the 21st century. Jamaica must continue to set up industry institutions in copyright, protect music creators, and encourage respect for contracts. Set up training programs in order that young industry professionals can emerge, managers, lawyers, agents, touring crews, accountancy, business startups, and AI technology companies. Reggae intellectual property and copyright, that's a valuable asset. But you know, not just in music, you've got merchandising, t-shirts, you've got cafes, you've got, I think down in Jamaica, I think Chris Blackwell has set up Jamaica Outpost and stuff like the 007 James Bond structures. These are all reggae, it's all business. So yeah, look at that and take the risk and organize yourselves. But I've got to drive this message home. respect contracts, because if you don't respect contracts, you're going to create a problem. So when you make a deal with someone, even if you haven't signed the paper, a deal is a deal.
Yeah,
Let your
absolutely.
word be your bond. Let people respect you to say, we have come to an arrangement. And don't sidetrack from that. You see it through to its duration. And if something comes up, you just say, look, it's not available right now. I've already got another deal, but look, we can talk again on something different. We got to create value and let that value of reggae be seen across the world. I'm looking for a group of great minds, Rudy, of great minds in reggae in order to encourage a reggae museum, for example, for in Jamaica, for everyone, unlike the current trend, because I think you've got a Bob Marley museum and I think you've got a Peter Tosh museum, but you're sending a message there that unless you've been wealthy or you have money, you can't have a museum or you can't be in it. So the government, the industry needs to create a museum for everyone.
Yeah, easily accessible for everyone.
Easily accessible, and people should qualify by their contribution to go in, not by the balance of their bank account. And that's what we need to set up. Let people see the value of these people. And I'm working to establish a more equipped reggae community, able to negotiate its own success in this or any other universe that may exist. So people, I'm saying to you that we have a lot of work ahead of us, but we can do this. So this is reggae in the 21st century. We must connect the dots. If you look at a spider's web, imagine if it was just a loop going around. No, you see that spider, it connects. These are all dots. And that's how effective the spider's web is. And we need to look at that as a model, because we have a lot of very talented, qualified Black people in the world.
Everywhere.
But we're all just individuals, like dots on a thing. But look at it for this way. Imagine you have a computer, I have a computer, so-and-so has a computer, but they're not connected to the internet.
Exactly.
They're just single computers. What we're saying now, and I think, Rudy, you'll agree, and most people across the world will agree with me, that all we need to do, if you have that computer and it's not connected to the web, it's just about you. Imagine when you connect it to the web, it's the world.
Yeah, and to be part of a network. And to be part of a network.
Absolutely. So I'll go back to what I've said earlier. We in the 21st century must connect the dots. We can't remain disconnected in a connected world. I know that in the past, during slavery, they disconnected us. They disconnected us from Africa, disconnected us from our parents, our ancestors. It was all about disconnecting and chucking us aside and not allowing us to come together. We have woken up. We are using intelligence. We know who we are. We know what we've done in the past. And what man has done before, man and women can do again. So people, this is the rise now. We're going to rise. We're going to connect like the great Marcus Garvey did. And we're going to connect those dots, and we're going to form relationships. We're going to merge reggae with the great minds of commerce, and we're going to take this to another level.
Yes,
and so
indeed.
AI, we have to question now what AI is doing, because the music industry has changed drastically. How will emerging technology transform reggae music? As music becomes increasingly digitized or digitalized, so does the technology used to distribute it. This is encouraging startups to focus on music as a standalone industry rather than as a subdivision of entertainment, which is helping the sector to grow even more. But what kind of new tech are now being used in the industry, and how will they change the way that people experience music?
Yeah, so
let's look at it.
They're big questions, because we're running down to the last 15 minutes, just to let you know.
Okay, all right. So let's move then into a strategy. In evaluating everything I've said and looking at the arena and examining the territory and taking a leap into the 21st century, way ahead, in evaluating what form of assistance may be provided for the reggae music industry, I have adopted a limited perspective of attaining commercial success on the home front, i.e. where we are now in the UK, but Jamaica can do the same, in the strong belief that successful entrepreneurs will soon enough rise or raise their horizons towards attacking the overseas areas and reaping increased rewards. I know that Jamaica has seen this already, and the UK has seen it, where artists like Beenie Man, Sizzler, Luciano, Shaggy, those have all taken reggae from Jamaica and have taken it to the world. Beres Hammond, and of course, Bob Marley, Peter Tosh, and the great Bonnie Wailer. So no more is that wide-eyed belief that our future can be entrusted to or will be made by the existing industry. The dynamics in our community right here, right now, is to build the services and networks which can procure success. Exactly. The common view is this: reggae means business. Reggae can spawn an enormous industry bigger than what it is now, leading the way in the cultural enrichment and economic contribution that Black people make to the community at large. And the essential for success in any of these global markets are similar. Mm-hmm. This is reflected in what I'm about to say now, in an organization's ability to do: one, produce a product of sufficient quality. Yeah. Two, present the artist and or product to the widest audience. Yeah. Three, develop the capacity and maintain the capacity to deliver the product to the point of sale. The common desire is commercial success. Yeah. The marketing process I've just outlined above can be changed. How to equip the reggae industry for a fair attack on the market is the essence of our deliberations. And so the important sociological considerations that currently serviced by the vibrancy of success. Mm-hmm. So consolidate the industry, develop support and facilities, market and investment capital, or making investment capital available should be a part of our drive. Simply, to end or close on this matter, reggae is a way of life. Reggae means business, and what's good for reggae is good for the world. The third rock from the sun. Yeah. Rudy.
Okay. Thanks for that. Hugh, it was Bob Marley's 76th birthday on the 6th of Feb, where we were honoring our heroes and sheroes. And what's your best memory of him and the Wailers?
You know, fantastic. My best and most memorable memory of the Wailers was supporting the Wailers at the Sundown Theatre in Edmonton, right here in London. Okay. They in fact, on that night, they actually used our equipment, 90 degrees. Yeah. Marsha Hunt was the MC on there. I don't know if people remember Marsha Hunt. Marsha Hunt was the MC at a concert. And I remember one day going into Chris Blackwell's office in Island Records, I think it was over in Chiswick, and seeing a huge picture of Bob Marley behind his desk on the wall. And in that picture, I could see our band's equipment with the name on it, on the amplification. And that was taken at the gig of that concert over in Edmonton. Great memories. Well done, Bob.
So tell us about that gig and the experience.
You know, once I was backstage, because as an artist on the bill, you have an access all areas pass, and so you can go anywhere with that pass. And so I wanted to meet Bob and the rest of the Wailers, and I got up to their dressing room, and I remember going into the Wailers dressing room before the show. I opened the door, and Rudy, I couldn't see a thing. Rudy, I was hit by this cloud of smoke. It was foggy. Let me put it that way.
We understand what type of smoke.
Yeah.
Did you inhale?
No, I had to exhale, and I left the room. So, but we did hook up with them a bit later. So that was fantastic.
Yeah. So Hugh, as a singer, songwriter, and guitarist yourself, do you have a favorite Bob Marley song?
You know, Stir It Up, Soul Rebel, Small Axe. And that was the great thing about Bob and Bonnie and Peter. They wrote songs about reality. One of the songs is Yes, My Friend, We're Up on Street Again. I think that song was written after Bob and the Wailers were beaten up by the police and they were released. And so the song is, the bars could not hold me and stuff like that. But my very favorite, I've got several, as I just mentioned. Bob is a great musician. He's an amazing storyteller. He's a world-class songwriter. Him, Bob Dylan, and Jimi Hendrix, those are my three favorite right now. prototypes. But my absolute favorite, Rudy, to answer your question, I'm sorry I went off on a tangent there, is an acoustic song, an incredibly powerful song called Redemption Song. I listened to that hundreds of times.
Yes.
There can be no doubt that Bob's pivotal role was the introduction of Chris Blackwell and the way that he took it to another level. I think Bob should be given actually the Nobel Peace Prize, as I think it's been discussed right now because of his spreading of the word of peace, love, and unity. And you know, we need to honor these people, Rudy, these heroes and sheroes. We should honor all of these great people who served our race, including, but not limited to, and again, I don't want to leave anybody out, but I'll speak of the Honorable Robert Nesta Marley, Bob, Honorable Peter McIntosh, and the Honorable Neville Livingston, Bunny, Honorable Prince Buster, Honorable Sonia Pottinger, Bunny Lee, Carl Palmer, Rita Marley, Marcia Griffiths, Judy Mowat, Chris Blackwell, Simmerings, Loxley Geeshie, and Winston, and all of those. Shaggy, Robert Livingston, Jimmy Cliff, Sly Dunbar, Robert Shakespeare, Beres Hammond, Cat Core, Ibu, Vincent Chin, Patricia Chin, and of course, Donovan Germain, Duke Reed, Clement Coxendon from Studio One. All of these are great people. I think, Rudy, we're coming up to closing time now. So I want to thank you for taking the time out. I want to thank everyone for all they're doing for Reggae Month. But just like Black History Month, reggae is 365. It's not just 29. This is the shortest month in the year. And so we need to recognize that reggae is a way of life. It's not just about the music, it's about the culture, it's about its educational aspect. And so thanks to everyone. Thank you for taking the time and trouble out of your busy schedule. And I leave you by saying, love yourself, love one another, set up businesses, be successful, do good, and remember, there is power in reggae, power in the darkness. Love your brothers. Thank you so much.
So, Hugh, thanks very much. That's been the most enlightening dialogue, definitely one for the records. And in my mind, that this was just part one. We will be calling on you again. I know it's going to generate a lot of interest. So everybody, that was HUGH FRANCIS. We wanted to know who is HUGH FRANCIS. That was HUGH FRANCIS. And I can tell you from now, he will be back because on the 26th of April, 2021, that's World Intellectual Property Day. And we will be focusing on reggae. And it's about the development of creative ideas and translating those into businesses, into what we call SMEs, small and medium-sized enterprises. So you will be definitely hearing back from HUGH FRANCIS. That was HUGH FRANCIS. I'm Rudy Page. Good night and see you again very soon. Thank you very much, HUGH.